Okay, here we go. Well, I know it's been a couple of days since the last video, but it's a busy time here on the homestead. I've been reading the comments, and I've decided to let the comments drive the focus of the videos. So, but you know, before I get into that, I do this every time, don't I? I would like to make a comment of my own, which is I'd like to emphasize once again that it is imperative that you make your own decisions, that you you gather the information you need to make your own decisions. Of the comments, the one that disturbs me the most is for financial advice. I don't do financial advice. I did not help you make your money. Didn't you work hard enough to make the money that you have to warrant you working hard to know what to do, make your own decisions about your money? I'd be darned if I let somebody tell me what to do with something that I worked hard for, and even though I'm not a real religious person, I do believe in the tenets of the Bible, because they're a good guide for life. Which brings me to this point. Nobody's going to save you from this economic calamity. Not the government, not God. Somebody told me one time, referencing the Bible, they said that God only helps those who help themselves. Well, I'm not a religious scholar, and you know, I mean, if you need religion, that's great. It's a good guide for life. But that saying is no place in the Bible. I can tell you that. That's a saying by Benjamin Franklin, one of the founding fathers of this country. But the Bible is loaded with I think the Old Testament, Proverbs maybe, chapter 12, someplace in there, verses in the teens, where there's all kinds of references to you know, mankind not providing for their family. And I think in the New Testament, the first book of Timothy, chapter 5 maybe, verse 8. Some of you religious people, you can get back to me. You can call me an idiot because I cited the wrong things, or whatever. But I won't argue with you. It says, if I remember correctly. I mean, I've read the Bible. I own a Bible. But it says that a man who doesn't take care of his family and his relatives has forsaken the faith. I think that's the language. I'm not sure. But he's worse than an unbeliever. So that ought to tell you right there. For you folks who think that Jesus is going to save you, ain't going to happen. All right. And the government sure as hell isn't going to happen. Isn't going to help you. They've been trying to bankrupt you since the beginning of time. And the beginning of time, I mean the beginning of time, Neanderthal man. Anytime that they form a government, it has always failed. And ours is no different. Has to be changed. At any rate. Financial advice was number one. The other one is gold. That's kind of a pointless conversation to have. too many people have been listening to too many um, gold bugs, I think they call them, people who sell gold and silver. You see, they make a living at this stuff. And it's a relatively new form of living since 1971, because prior to that, the American population wasn't allowed to own gold after it was confiscated in 1930, I don't know, 31, 2, 3, something. It wasn't really confiscated. It was paid for. I mean, FDR paid 20 bucks an ounce for it, and then it went through a whole lot of gyrations with the Treasury Secretary to eventually get the price up to $35 an ounce, which inflated the currency. And that's what they were after. Inflation to get the economy moving after the Great Depression. Gold is not money. Gold is a commodity. It's traded in the commodities market, just like corn and rice and coffee and sugar. It's a commodity. It's not money. Not in our country. And it has value, just like oil does, and just like sugar does, and just like corn does. Has value. But not as legal tender. If it were, then you would be able to go to the bank with your gold and trade it in for the currency that we use, the dollar. You can't. You go into the bank with a $20 gold coin, a gold piece, $20 gold piece, you can go to the bank and trade it in. They'll give you face value for it, 20 bucks. I think there's an ounce of gold in a $20 gold coin, back when gold was $20 an ounce, before FDR got a hold of it. So an ounce of gold is trading for what? On the commodities market, it's trading for $1,200 an ounce. So you're going to go to the bank and trade it in for a $20 bill? If the economy collapses, and you know there's a hiccup in the distribution system for food, and you come to me because I have fresh poultry and fresh eggs, and I have canned goods and you know, that kind of thing. I have lumber, and you're going to give me a shiny little a shiny piece of metal for that? No, I'm looking for fresh milk, or I'm looking for beef, or I'm looking for something else. I'm not looking for a shiny piece of metal. I mean, I may be a heathen, but I am not mesmerized by shiny things. Even if, well, okay, all right, we'll take it a step farther. At the IMF, the SDR has a certain percentage of gold valuing the basket of goods that is the value of the SDR. All of the gold and silver pundits, they all say, well, you should have a 10% allocation in your portfolio for precious metals. Well, that's great, but with 65% of the American population can't come up with $1,000 in an emergency. I mean, come on. These are nationwide polls that people do at reputable organizations. They can't come up with $1,000. 65% of the population. So a 10% allocation in their portfolio is zero. So what good is it going to do you? You're not going to be able to trade it in an economic calamity, in you know, some kind of that kind of thing. I mean, I don't know what you think you're going to do with gold. I just don't see the point. I don't see the point. It's like anything else. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. I just can't remember when. That's a joke. Okay. I would like to get at some point to discuss what the government's role in all of this is going to be, because they are very predictable, and you can get an idea of what the landscape is going to look like, and you know, all of the gimmicks that they're going to try. And that time is coming pretty quickly. Look around. Look around. France just guaranteed a revolution, and a collapse of the European Union within the next 12 months by electing what they call a centrist. They think, the European Union thinks that they defeated the populist movement, which would have caused France to immediately start moving to leave the European Union. And that's true. They did avert that. But they sealed the fate of the European Union. Now the European Union thinks that they have it in the bag, and so they're going to clamp down on all of the EU nations, and they're going to issue so many regulations and so much stuff. They're absolutely guaranteeing their collapse. Puerto Rico, bankrupt. So you're going to see what's going to happen there, and maybe you'll get a little insight as to what's going to happen here. They are U.S. territory. What else? Canada is having big social problems with tent cities, and some of their provinces are putting out proposals to pay everybody a living wage, whether they're working or not. Sounds like communism to me. So I don't know. In the U.S., there's a lot of discontentment. I mean, it's all coming down. I mean, the dominoes are falling. It just depends on what kind of a. I did want to mention one thing. All of the nitwits on conservative websites and the blog thing, the thing that I do, all the nitwits and the has-beens and the ne'er-do-wells, they're all out there talking about the stock market's going to crash. Jeez. This is why you got to make your own decisions. It's imperative that you have your own, that you gather the facts, and make your own decisions. Yeah, eventually the stock market will crash, but not today. Bond money's going in there. We have all the central banks, and they are putting the estimate is $250 billion every quarter into the equities market. That's the stock market. It's a hedge. They're not trying to manipulate the markets. They're not trying to do all that stuff like everybody says they are. Oh, they're manipulating the market. The market's going to crash. No, they're hedging their bet. And of course, bond money's going in there. Going into the stock market. As the bond market collapses, the money goes from the bond market into the equities market. And yeah, it'll eventually collapse. So, anyway, you know, make the comments, and I'll go with that. In lieu of the comments, I'm going to go with the government's role in the economic calamity and what they are prepared to do, because they are prepared. So, that's all I got for this time. So until next time, toodaloo.